Page 52, come back to Sorrento in the key of D minor, and it goes to D major. You can see the signs of it. D minor has one flat, it's a relative to F major, and then we go into D major, which has two sharps. They can do that. They're called parallels. D minor is a parallel minor to D major because they have the same tonic, the same. That's what they're doing here. Starting with the right hand, 3/4 time, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And I play that D on the roll chord. I play the D on the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and. You got to move your hand up. Just follow their fingering. On the roll chords, the melody's top note. Bring it out. Going on, now we're in the key of D major. It's a little awkward because you're kind of doing this. The pedal's going to connect it. Over on page 53, second line. This is going to be a little slower. Watch out on the third line. First measure you hear. This is awkward here. You have a 1/4, now another 1/4. The F sharp, the first one's just an eighth note. That helps a little bit. So you gotta do that. Melody's the top note. Bring it. I'll just put a little more weight on the top note. Watch the fingering going from the third line to the fourth line. And the last measure, the third line, you're here. And now we're going to cross over. Now here. Protect the melody. That's what we want to hear. And then last line, second measure, hold the D down and play the bottom notes. Now hold the G down and play the top notes. And now the last measure, back to D major. Isn't this fun? Oh boy. Starting at the beginning, you have a dotted half note, you can hold it down for the measure. And then watch the fingering. The last note of the first line is with second finger. Because you got to go down here for the second line. The second measure is 5/4. 2 on the last note. That's neat. And then when you get down to the third line, it's not a dotted half note anymore, it's here. Until you get down to the last line, the second measure is a dotted half note. Now you can, on the last two measures of page 52, you're here. The last measure, you can figure that with a 4. To connect them, it's up to you. And then at the top of page 53, go back to the 5. Because you're not going to hold it down. I would recommend, it's up to you, on page 53, first line, last measure in the left hand, that you finger that with a 4/1, not a 3/1. Because the chord is actually this. And that's the fingering for the chord. It's a little awkward. It's still the fingering. And that's so that I would recommend a 4/1. Last line, left hand, just eighth notes. Just work them out carefully. It's you get the second finger on the last one, so you got time, and you can lift up between the phrases. It's okay. Second finger on the last one, and then the fingering 1, 2, 1. that treble clef there. That last chord, those notes, I play the bottom note on the beat and I roll them all. One note at a time. You got 7 notes to roll there. Now when you put it together, they say at the beginning soft piano, that's the right has the melody. Espressivo means expressively, but you got to learn the piece first. You got to get all the mechanical stuff out of the way, and then once you can play the piece, and you got it all the fingering and all that, then you can start trying to get emotional about it. And that's where the fun really is. So you got some dynamics, you're starting out soft. That's the melody, so everything else has to be softer than that. And then in the second line, you can go up to a medium loud. Then come down. Third line, your medium loud. Bring out the top note in the right hand. Now it's just come down a little bit. There's not a lot of difference between medium loud and medium soft. In the last line, just come down a little. Then at the top of page 53, you go back up a little to medium loud. Back up louder. A little retardando, poco retardando. Just slow down a little bit. Now, poco meno mosso means a little less motion, so we're going to stay slower. Now, they don't tell you when to go back up. And so I would recommend when you start line 3, go back to your original speed. Fourth line down, now you're going to crescendo to a fortissimo. This is like the climax of the song. This is where the most exciting part is supposed to be. And then come down here. And you end it soft and then very soft. Now the pedal. Just pedal it the way they're telling you to pedal it. And don't pedal it anywhere else. So we have the contrast in the pedal. So at the first couple of lines there's no pedal, it's just there. But then when you get down to the next section, the third line down, and I know it's a section, it's got double bars there, it's a section. You don't have to have double bars just because you change key signatures. It's a double bars because it's a different section. Now we get pedal, we're going to connect this. It's a contrast between what we had before. Remember, we like contrast, remember that. But then in the last line, it's only pedaling certain measures. And I'm not overlapping the pedal here. I'm like on the last line between the second, third measure, I'm lifting the pedal before I play the notes in the third measure because I want some break in the sound there. Same thing at the end of the page. I'll lift it up before I go to page 53. And this kind of goes on and off for a while. Second line of page 53, you're pedaling legato again, and this is overlap here. Now I lift the pedal up. There's no overlap between the second and third lines. So lift the pedal up at the end of the second line. So a little silence before we go to the third line. It's overlap, and I would not overlap the first and second measures of the fourth line because there's a break in the phrase there and I want to hear it. So first measure, we are not pedaling that. I'm not sure why not, but they said not to. And then I'll lift it before I play the next measure. Then you pedal the last measure. I'll give you an idea what I think it should sound like because I'm not going to do a play with me. Kind of talk you through it. So we're going to start out softly at the beginning. Just softly and gently, no pedal. repeat. The F sharps are already introduced. Now we're going to change the mood. Little difference here I want to point out. When you're playing the third line on page 52, this is pedaled. But when you're playing the same thing at the top of 53, it's not pedaled. It's contrast. It's done on purpose. So at the top of page 53, get louder. Now I'm going to take off again. The end, then the pedal and the hands come up at the same time. Something like that.